It's a, how can I say, it's a pleasant moment to be here one more time, talk with you. Thank you very much.
And what is your question today? If you have something on your mind or something that you have been reading.
Oh, I'm still reading about the death of the midrash about the death of Moses, and there is a lot of information in that book, and there is a lot of habis that appears in this book. Abi Helvo, Abi Yoshia, and all them, and I listen. I read about Josué, Portuguese Josué, I believe is who succeed Moses. And it's interesting story about Moses.
Is it?
Yes.
Would you like to share this midrash with us?
Oh, actually, it's interesting because there is something about a debating. How can I say? Moses tried to the argument to the Lord because he won't die, and so it remember me when Abraham talked with God about Sodom and Gomorrah, and they started to, oh, if there is 10 tzaddiks or 10 good men there, and Moses, in my perspective, in my point of view, he did the same because he started he showed some arguments because he won't die, and so he tried to bargain something like that. He tried to remove the lords to because he want to go to the, how can I say, the land of Canaan. So it's interesting to me.
Midrash. Thank you for sharing it. That Moses is arguing the day of his, let's say, disappearance. He does not agree. He asked for, in a way, to, how do you say, to expand his visa, to extend his visum, so to speak. So there's a beautiful midrash that describes this dialogue between Moses and God, that he asked for another day, for another hour, maybe not today. And God is saying, stop, Moses. This is it, so far, and no more. It's a beautiful midrash. Good morning, Fernando. How do you do today? How is the weather? What have you been reading so far? What would you like to share with us? Jill, happy to see you here. Good morning, Connie. Interesting argument, or this midrash that Rodrigo shared with us, is the argument between God and Moses, like there are two. This is a very interesting thing, like there are two sides. Yes? Two sides of reality. We shall expand about that. And Fernando, what was interesting for you in the book that we quoted in selected reading? Was something or an idea that caught your attention, or a question that you would like to ask? Good morning, Jill. How do you do today? Is there something on your mind that you would like to ask or to share with us? You can also unmute Fernando, Jill, and share your views and experiences, questions, and impressions with us. Yes, Fernando.
Shalom, Eti and Rodrigo
Shalom.
and Gil. Good to see you here.
How do you do today, Fernando?
I'm fine, Eti. It's a beautiful day here, and I'm happy to be here. Eti, I just to add that I was reading what you post on select readings, and I do not have anything in particular new. I would like to listen from what Rodrigo said about this midrash. And if I may add something, I'm heading to the final of this book, The Secret of the Golden Flower, that is quite beautiful. And of course, the Orientals use a lot of attention to breath, meditation, and to be silent and to breathe. You know? And I was thinking this morning that in Hebrew, breathe is the same root of neshama, nishma and neshama, if I can remember well. So I was reading this and thinking about this. And finally, I would say as well that this book is quite beautiful. The Secret of Golden Flower. It speaks about this golden flower that can be flourish inside of us. And once it flourishes, it is not more individual. This is quite paradox because it seems that as we get to the root, less we combine more this individual collective, this double participation, let's say. Just is it. I don't know if
Thank you so much.
it brings something to this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Jill, good morning. I would like to ask, how do you do today? Is there something on your mind that you would like to ask? And I would like to hear your impressions and then to move between those impressions. There's a midrash that Rodrigo shared with us the last day of Moses, how he argues with God. He wants to extend his staying. There's Fernando book that he is reading, The Secret, yes, of the Golden Flower, if I'm correctly quoting. And Jill, if you have any question, we shall be happy to hear your question, your impression. Yanis, good evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, and how are you today?
I'm doing great. Hello, everybody. I'm doing well. It's pretty here. The sun is out. It's warming up. Just an amazing day.
Good to hear you. Good to hear you. Here it's a bit frosty. This is the
Really frosty.
yes, closing to how to say zero temperature in Celsius scale.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's fine. Yes,
Frosty
yes,
means cozy to me.
yes. That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
I didn't
And you?
really have any questions, though. I just wanted to say hello. I'm interested to hear. I didn't get on here in time to hear what Rodrigo's question was. I was going to listen to that.
Yes, Rodrigo. Rodrigo, would you like to, how do you say, repeat the impression that you have from the book that you're currently reading with Jill and Yanis?
Yes, hello, Eti, hello, Gil, Yanis, and Fernando. Oh, I just tell to Eti that I'm reading the Midrash about the Moses' death or something like that, and it's interesting because there is a debating in this book because Moses don't want to how can I say don't want to die, and he asked God, and there is a lot of arguments in this book, and there is he compares himself with Adam and Abraham and Jacob. There is mention mention the other patriarchs, and it's interesting because Moses tried to convince God, and I just remember the episode when Abraham tried to convince God to not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And for me, in my mind, there is a parallel in these two pictures, these two scenes, when Abraham tried to move God to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and now when Moses tried to convince God to, to stay, how can I say, more time here, and and God told to him that Joshua will lead the people into the promised land, and Moses, okay, I can serve Joshua, no problem. And there is a lot of bargain in this test. It's something, how can I say, a different perspective, because um, when we see, when I read that Moses is, how can I say, debating with God, it's something that sound a little, it's different. It's a different perspective, because he debated with God in the same, almost in the same place. He contradict and he ask, and it's interesting book, and offer a different perspective, this relation between Moses and God. It's interesting to me. But I not finished the book, and I just put on the table this topic, and if Etty could expand to us or explain something much better than me, but I just put this topic on the table. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for the question. And there's the source, and there's from the source comes, in a way, like a twig or a split that will be, or a matrix that later we shall call it space and time. The world of the phenomenon, the world of duality. And in the world of duality, we can argue, we can bargain. In the world of duality, people can argue if it's warm or cold, if it's night or day, or how much light there is in the room, or how much rain is being pouring at the moment. In the world of duality, but not in the source. So all the cases, in a way, that this midrash maybe is introducing to us, the bargaining or this argument or this conversation between Abraham and God, not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, when conceptually, when, in which plane all those arguments, whether it's Moses and God in his last day, or Abraham and God before Sodom and Gomorrah, when or in which plane all of those arguments can take place? Where? In the nominal, in the source, in the infinite, or in the phenomenon, in the world of duality, in the manifested world? First of all, this is the frame of the question, because when question arises like now from Rodrigo, valid question, let's see first of all where the question is standing. So, all of those arguments between Abraham and God, and the discussion or this argument even is quoted in the Bible. Maybe there are 10 righteousness, maybe 30 righteousness, maybe this, maybe that. All of those arguments, whether Abraham brings them or later Moses in his last day, where all of those things can occur, in which place? Yes, in duality. Only in duality. So, let's say, if we would like make a movie, the camera that shows, so to speak, this last day of Moses, this argument between him and God, this camera would show or would point its light on the world of duality. In the manifested, there are arguments and bargains, but not in the source. And there's like texts that are posted in selected reading. In the source, there's still, and there's silence, and there's unicity. It's a whole, it's complete. And once there is appearance, so to speak, there's a split. And suddenly there's object, subject. Again, once there's an appearance, there's split. What does it mean, a split? There are two. Object, subject. The tree and the man that can see the tree, so to speak. Yes? In the world of duality. Not in the nominal, not in the source. In the appearance. So those arguments are occurring or happening only in the apparent world. Say, leaves his doorway to his work, goes into his car. He has a meeting at 9 in the city, but suddenly, or not even suddenly, he is again stuck in a traffic jam on the way to the office, and the clock is ticking. It's 5 to 9, and he has still 20 minutes on the road, and he will not make it, and his brain is ticking. You should have left 1 hour before. You should have taken a train. You could also initiate an online meeting. There is no need to physically meet this figure in the office, this running inside. You should have done A, B, C, D, tack, 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 because it's 5 to 9 and I don't have 20 minutes to arrive. 20 minutes will come before 20. This argument, this coming and going, this suffering only can occur in space and time. And I believe that each and every one of us experience this every day, at least once. We should have, we could have, it would have. Those things can emerge in the brain because the brain is built to show us divided picture or divided world in which there are always two there. So the brain, it's not, this is how the brain is programmed. It's programmed to be split. To those who have the language of spheres, Binah is divided in a way into two parts. Binah is, so to speak, is the mother, is understanding. Binah, before understanding, it is manifested in time, sometimes as children, so to speak. We speak in this world of children. Before understanding is manifested, it's part of the wisdom. It is part of the infinite, the crown. Those are three upper spheres, to use the language of the sages through the Hebrew. I'm just using parallel terms to suggest acceptance of what is happening. So there is part of Binah which is associated or cleaved with wisdom, what we say Abba and Ima, which is not the manifested, just the core silence. And there is the manifestation. The manifestation will always come as split, because the manifestation appears in space and time. And the manifestation will always include the opposites. There we shall have arguments. Is this principle clear? Before we continue, it is built in each and every one of us. This is how this is built. It's a built-in. Nobody can remove it. So, to accept that this is what is happening, and this our actor that now sits in the car and it's 5 to 9, it's clear for him that he will be late, he will not make it, has to come to accept that he will not appear at 9. And this acceptance brings peace. Just stop struggle, accept that this is the situation and there's no suffering. And acceptance brings peace. And from this peace, we can continue. What are the options? To call, to inform that we are late. Maybe the other side also might be late. Maybe the other side will not appear because something happens in their lives and they cannot appear in the office. Many things can occur because we are not the only, so to speak, player in brackets in this game. But the mechanical activity will always claim you are late. You should have done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you would not be late. Nobody knows why this, let's say, actor is late to the office. And it's not even relevant why. It doesn't matter, just to accept the fact. Accepting of the fact gives a lot of peace and puts an end to a struggle, puts an end to unnecessary suffering, so to speak, in brackets, that comes, you should have, you could have, you done better and before and after and differently. Many of the struggles or the suffering that it is common that people have is not being able to accept what is happening in the moment. Arguing reality, because what is happening in the moment is reality. Let's say there's a rain, pouring rain. Let's say now at the moment people could argue if it's heavy rain, if it's only showers, if it's has inside, let's say, those snow, those balls. They can argue how it is being poured, if it's right, if it's beating the windows, if it's beating the cars. Many arguments can come, how and how long and how does it sound. But the fact that it is just raining now. Like this actor in our game. In 5 minutes, he would not make it into the office. This is the reality. So admit, accept, peace, take a deep breath, and from there, meaning from the moment of peace, infinite option can emerge without debate, without suffering, without struggles. So let's go into this actor's mind. So I'm late. And so what? So it's 5 to 9. And I set a meeting to 9. I will not be making it. Okay. Inform someone. Okay, and what? Thing is, what happens in the brain, this argument can bring someone or the thinker to a struggle, to a storm, mental storm, this argument. And once there is mental storm and the storm is running on emptiness because there is no reason for the storm to take place, but this is what the brain does, stormy water. It's hard from the storm to bring it back to peace. It is possible, but it takes much more time. And people in the process lose a lot of equanimity. So it is better, if it's possible, to admit this is what is happening. It's raining, it's late, tack, whatever reality brings about. Admit, accept, and continue. Because the rejection of it or this argument brings simply unnecessary suffering. Back and forth, tack. People a lot or many times are engaged with back and forth because they think, yes, they tend to think that this is life, what life is about. This back and forth. They think this is the pulse of life. But it's not. Questions? Rodrigo, now when you approach now the Midrash, the book, you see it from or in a different light than before? There's a tendency when we read something, a text is to be, how do you say, to be, thank you, Rodrigo, to be, how do you say, susceptible and to dive into the text like it's the only thing in a way that is there. But then comes a question from which angle the text, the books, the paragraphs, the chapter is being written. Yes, the first jump is into the water to read the text, to run on the text, to capture some of the names, some of the happenings, the plot, the story, and take it as an absolute. And then comes another angle, which is asking, but from which perspective the text is coming? The question is even broader. Can we argue reality? Is reality is a source for debate? What is reality? Questions? Yanis, Felipe, Rodrigo, Fernando, Jill, Abigail. To notice reality. Yes, it's raining. Or yes, just not to be engaged. If I'm, let's say, the actor is invested, all of me is invested in this meeting, and I am the one who's supposed to meet the mayor at 9. As the doer, I am the excellent, let's say, lawyer who's supposed to meet the mayor at 9. The future, my future, the city's future is on the scale. But if it's not me, the greatest lawyer, who's going to meet the mayor, it's just a meeting that one of the two might arrive before or after, it's different. If I'm not the doer, if I'm not the lawyer, if I'm not the actor, if I'm not the parent, if I'm not the teacher, if I'm not the player, if I'm not the baker, and my reputation of bakery is going in front of me, like what happens in the kitchens of restaurants when you have a chef. He's the master of cooking, and nobody can say any word next to the great chef. So if I'm not the lawyer, the maker, the doer, the teacher, the baker, if there isn't any attachment, would be wise and simple to admit the truth. In 5 minutes, it's not possible to make it. It doesn't matter who are the two, the greatest minister with the greatest mayor, or the prime minister, the parent and the teacher. It doesn't matter who are the two. It's just impossible. And to admit it and not to have any attachments whatsoever. Because what in most of the cases is happening, there's already running late program in the brain, and the brain, which was in a way prepared for the meeting, I will speak, and this is how I want to lead a conversation to get the result that I want. There's already stress on the system. There's before meeting bargaining, there's stress. So, and there's late, and there's a delay, and he might arrive to the meeting with, let's say, Babylon Tower on the head. Things which are not occurring, not existing. There's no focus in it because it's built on a lie. Bargaining and argumentation comes from attachment. There is assumption that someone is attached to something, that something is belong to someone. And if there's a movement, it will be taken from him or her, and there's identity crisis because the whole identity is invested in the attachment. Yes, Jill.
I just wanted to just kind of like make a comment or have a comment about that because over here they teach art and or there's like an art of debate and argumentation and in school, and so then you'll find that people are more argumentative here, and
Mm.
I definitely can relate to um, people start to gain their identity with that because even inside of families here, like politics is always an argument and religion is always an argument, and it seems like there's always something to argue about because they're fighting to um, like what they're doing or what their identity is more important than the other person's identity. But I never thought about it that, it was a source of how they maybe are fighting for, I don't, their identity maybe. But there is arguments all the time everywhere. But I just really think it's just a great conversation. I do agree that once it's released, when things are happening, it just kind of takes care of itself because I've been having that happen with me lately. And it's just like, well, you know what? It's happening. What can I do about it? And once I let go of it, then it just kind of takes care of itself. And,
Yeah.
you move on to the next adventure.
Yes, yes, this is how it is.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, yes, yes. It used to be, yes. It has a long history. Yes, like arguments. Like, yes, this is the Western education. Maybe Fernando, you would like to expand upon it. There's like ancient tradition. It is really ancient, thousands of years, I guess. Yes, Fernando.
I was just thinking from what you said about this culture that came with Lutero, right? To argue about things, and he brought great things, but at the same time, it is interesting that from the Renaissance, from this reform in the Christian tradition, what happened is that the Catholic Church, if I may add some historical perspective, and you can refute it or not, but what I felt is that the Catholic Church started a movement about arguing, and we have Scholastica
Mhm.
and Saint Thomas of Aquinas with his Summa Theologica, and the great achievement that was pursued. It was all about win an argument. So it is the logic in the let's say in the extreme, the extreme of
Mhm.
logic. We are better because we can argue more. We
Mhm.
can make our point better.
Mhm.
So we have like centuries of development in arguing. So it became so outer and so complex that it loses its meaning. It is in Latin we would say a flatus voices. It is a voice without substance,
Mhm.
and we lost the encounter. Uh, that is the other movement, like the Book of Zohar, that is about not about winning an argument. It is about just to be among friends talking about the subject, not getting into the root of the supreme, how can I say, to win. I am the owner
Yes,
of.
like gladiators fight in
Yeah,
words.
exactly.
Gladiators fights. Yes, this is an ancient Roman. Yes, yes, of course.
We are
Yes.
now gladiator of words.
Of course. Of course. Like sharks. What happens when the shark, the female shark, yes, gives birth, female shark, yes, two are coming at the same time. One will swallow the other at the moment of birth. This is not just a biblical story, this is what nature does. Yes, and there's a beautiful quote in the book that in selected reading that those conversations like in the book of Zohar or like conversations that are happening here a few times per week are participation. They are not lectures and they're not debates club. What happens in debates club? There's winner, ER, and there's loser, meaning there's one that claims that he is a winner, claiming ownership, and there's loser. So there are two. This is, in a way, a polar way to see the world. Very polar way, which is also not true. It's not true. So all this debates club and arguments and people are doing it in front of cameras and they have millions of views. Yes, because it's like gladiators. You want to see the other, some, yes, would like to see the other humiliated, change the face in the color, and the cameras are on them, very accurate cameras. And you can see that the light in the face, they lose their vitality, they become green or yellow or white from shame, and the mob is happy because it's like feeding into their hunger for blood. What is it all about? In conversations, those things are not happening because the nature of a conversation or participation is round, is holistic. There are different angles, there are different participants, different happenings. And in debate clubs, they're always like one is punching the other to see the other flat on the floor and there's a winner. Yes. So all of those debates club, or they even encourage this in college, in universities, in schools, in high schools. Give us a speech and everybody's a speech, yes, and so on. Yes, all of this is encouragement of dualistic way to see life. It is always charging one with a battery, with a winning, and discharging another one for not having enough courage or brain or enough rational fire. Yes. And all of this is an external. All of those debates, even they are recorded on the cameras and videos on YouTube, everything is like it's an artificial. It's those debates, arguments are artificial for the sake of the show, for the sake of the camera. They have nothing to do with the truth or with reality. Of course, of course, of course, of course, Jill, of course, of course. They have no reason. So the best policy is not to participate, not in debates club, not to watch it, not to hear it, because it's just something which is not existing. There's a beautiful quote in the book which says that since human, has the ability upon all animals to speak, man thinks that he is the crown of creation, or human. They believe that they crown of creation because the human is capable of speaking. But the speaking is not under the ownership of human. It comes through human, but it's not his. The ability to speak is not ours. It comes through us, but we are not the masters of speaking. Though many people will tell you, if you will ask them, they will say, of course that I'm speaking. Who else is speaking? I'm the owner of speak, and this is why everybody's chitting, chatting, 24/7 televisions, tuk 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 tuk, tick tack tock, tuk tuk tack tuk, talking. It doesn't mean anything. Many of those, or in general, those talks are mechanical or technical. Questions or thoughts? Please feel free to ask or to comment. Encouraging people to debate is like to put a man and a tiger in the same arena and see who will overcome the other. This is what happens also to Daniel. Yes, they put him in the lion's den to see who will eat who first. This is the brain that is, how do you say, is up for blood. Not to participate, not to watch, not to hear. Even at home between neighbors, do not. Just those things are just appearing and moving. It has no substance. Those things, the debates club, have no substance. Yes, what happens, they are very aggravating, those debates. Once you watch it, you tend to believe that this is the truth. The blood pressure rises, the heart beats, because those arguments, whoa. And this government lost $2 billion, and he did not build this city, and he did not build this fence, and all of you is invested in those arguments, which are basically conceptual. All those arguments are conceptual. They have nothing to do with reality. So it's a faked reality. Of course, not to participate, not to listen, not to watch it. It's not true. Why to be invested in something which is full of baloney? It's quite simple. Most sages used to hold or to host conversations in silence, because silence of many or the participants holds everything. But in time, they understood the need of using language that people will understand. But the greatest thing, or the greatest truth that people can share, is silence. Any questions? I would like to thank each and every one of you for participating in this beautiful conversation. If you have any more questions or thoughts that you would like to share, please feel free. We wish you a beautiful day and wonderful week, and see you soon. Toda and shalom.